Before we chat about Botshabelo and the launch that's going to be happening at the weekend, give us some idea as to how many courts are in existence, sexual offences courts, and how they're faring at the moment as we speak.
Good morning and greetings to all the viewers. This will be the 76th court since we started in 2013 under my predecessor. And this therefore suggests that on average we've been able to achieve a target of rolling out no less than 10 a year. We're expecting at the end of this financial year already to have launched a further 12 or so, if we succeed, bringing it to 88. But for the duration of the stated period, our target ultimately was 110 regional courts, which would then have dedicated components within them that are set aside for sexual offences, and this is what this is about. We also, of course, have so far rolled out 55 Tutuzela centres, which are important partners to the sexual offences courts in that they are one-stop services where victims of sexual offences are able to report incidents in a location where you will have a police officer, you'll have a nurse, you'll have a social worker or psychologist, even a doctor. Most of them are located in hospitals, hospital environments, which are a lot more conducive and nurturing than, say, police stations, for example. So it's a combination, and of course, social development has come to the party, and has also been rolling out shelters. I think, well over 100 now, in partnership also with civil society. So it's a multiplicity of collective efforts by different stakeholders towards a common goal.
So these centres that you speak of, Minister, they don't perform the functions of the actual courts, but are they sort of like, would you describe them as a waiting room for these cases that actually go to court? And does it mean that there aren't any courts in those areas then, and they will never be?
I'm not sure if I understood
these centres that
correctly.
The centres
to the sexual offences courts themselves.
Yes,
no. To Zella centres, yes, or shelters. There's three different.
I am talking about those centres and the Tutuzela centres, and I just want to find out from you where you have these centres.
Okay.
Are there necessarily sexual offences courts in those? Are those in place of courts?
No. We have courts that are located, sexual offences courts that are located within the precincts of court, which are part of court buildings at the regional court level. So these are not district court, but regional court level. Remember, you have district courts, you have regional courts that try more serious cases, and then you have high courts. So these are located within regional courts specifically. And they are dedicated courts that just focus on sexual offences. Now, in these courts, what you have, as you mentioned, you have special waiting rooms, you have special equipment, video conferencing equipment that enable children and vulnerable complainants or witnesses to testify in camera away from the actual courtroom itself. You have specially trained prosecutors, specially oriented magistrates who are trained around the sensitivities associated with handling a sexual offense trial. You have a whole conducive environment created that suits, the conducting of proceedings involving sexual offences. But that's just the court, sexual offences courts themselves. Quite outside of the court and the court precinct, usually in hospitals, you have locations specifically set aside within a hospital where a victim of sexual offense can come, and we encourage them to be there within the 72-hour window, which is very important, and I'll explain why. Where you will find at a hospital, in a Tutuzela center, as they are called, a police officer, usually a woman police officer, where you will report the incident. There will be the taking of samples for purposes of forensic evidence. There will be counseling. There will be prophylactic treatment if it's needed, again within the 72-hour window, etc. So it's a one-stop service to victims of sexual violence. And thirdly, as I indicated, social development provides shelters for those people who may feel vulnerable. Maybe let me also add, we, as the National Prosecuting Authority, run a witness protection program, in terms of which if a witness to a criminal proceedings feels vulnerable, we can arrange for them to be removed from their normal residence to a secret location in order to ensure their safety as well. So there's a whole package of services involved.
Okay, so the centres form a part of support for those cases that actually go to court. Minister, while I have you here, just to find out from you, and the NPA playing an integral role also in how these courts actually deal with the cases, what the outcomes are as well, and that will be top of the agenda for you. When it comes to the NPA and looking now for a new NPA boss, I just want your take on what you saw from those we heard during that interview process, those we heard from the short list of 5 candidates. Are you encouraged that we'll finally get the NPA back to the fighting body that it actually should be, and it has deteriorated over the past couple of years?
Well, let me say I observed the proceedings on the flanks because by law I do not play any specific role in the selection process. But from the bit that I had the time to observe during the interviews, I think there are some encouraging signs that we may as well just get a new break in terms of the right quality of leadership that we sorely need at this point in time in the organization to take it to the next level.
Thanks very much for your time.